Welcome aboard, everybody, you Dell Razors, on a Monday, June 15th. What is happening? Here it is, another fresh episode, what is this? 534. That's right, you heard it right, number 534, and it is the return of one of my oldest friends and one of my favorite humans on the planet. You know him from the Motherhips, Greg Hips himself, lead guitar, songwriter, and partner with Tim Hips in one of my favorite bands of all time. Super underrated, should be massive. It's one of those bands, and I could sit around and talk about it all day long, but no need to. What you should do is just immediately listen to their music. If you have not heard it, 29 years they have been a band. Tons of records, insane amounts of touring, hard work, and crazy ups and downs. Still going at it, and will never stop. That is what I love about Greg and Tim and the Motherhips music. Some of my favorite memories on the planet are hanging out with the Motherhips or opening for the Motherhips, whatever, or not even knowing them for a while and just going to the shows as a fan. All of that stuff deep in the good spot in my brain on the memory bank. It was great to talk to him. I sat down with him because he has a brand new solo record out called Mystic Traces, and it is fantastic. It came out May 15th. It's on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you stream. Amazon Music being my spot. Killer songs on this thing. Into the Light of Another Day is my favorite on it right now, and also the great Animal Clouds. He's got some cool videos for some of the songs, and he's got a vinyl out right now, orange vinyl. You can find all that motherhips.com, or follow Greg, Loiacono, Greg Loiacono, hardest last name ever to say, and get all his stuff. This guy is a solid friend and human. Great player. Great singer. Before I get into the episode, I just want to run a couple notes by you real quick here. Let's see here. I've got them. I've been talking about it. I got them. I've been talking about it. I don't even know what I was saying right there. I was just looking at notes, just saying stuff. I got it. I've been talking about it. People have been hitting me up. How come the podcast disappeared on Spotify? I will tell you right now. Spotify, I removed it from Spotify a couple years ago when I found out that they were running ads on my episodes, and I was getting no revenue. They also charge a subscription fee to listen to Spotify. They do not give me any kind of revenue for providing the content on Spotify, and it's nothing. You don't get paid for streams like a band does or anything. And there's other people out there that don't pay me also, and I've kept it on that platform because they weren't running ads. And I pulled it off of Spotify 2 years ago, and somehow, magically, it was back up on there. I didn't put it up on there, and when we asked Spotify who did, they were like, oh, we don't know. We thought you did, which is like, sounds a little fishy to me. But all good. No bad feelings, nothing like that. I just pulled it off. I feel that this podcast, I work my ass off for free so much that I think that somebody like Spotify, big companies, could throw a little paper my way for the content. If not, no biggie. So that is what's the deal with that. And if you're looking for the podcast, the best way to do it, if you want to help me out or support me, is go to patreon.com/Dean Del Rey and just sign up and be a supporter there. And all the podcasts are there, including 80 bonus episodes that are up right now. 80. I just put one up last night, actually, of a live one I did in San Francisco 3 months ago that I forgot all about. There it was, a little gem of a live podcast at the Chapel after I headlined a comedy show up there. Me and Kevin Christie went up there, did some comedy, and then I did a 1-hour podcast. It was fun, a Q&A. So that's all on Patreon, or of course, you can hear the show on iTunes, Spotify, Libsyn, ATC.com, all kinds of areas. YouTube, subscribe to that channel. And if you are an iTunes user, let's try to get these reviews up to 2,000. Leave a review and subscribe. That helps me immensely. So there's the explanation. Just thought I'd get it out there for anybody that's been wondering. What else is happening? I want to shout out the new Patreoners. Awesome people out there. Maximilian Von Berk. Ron Redden coming in with a solid donation. Caesar Barton rocking it. Jared Perkins in the house. Gabe, Jeff Gordon, and Mario T. Thank you so much. I'm still working with Zoom here, trying to get it better and better. This one had a couple ups and downs, but it's there. It's better than not being able to do the podcast. And so awesome. Keep trying to work on my audio skills on the Zoom. It's my goal to get this thing primo Zoom style. Other than that, I want to say thank you to all of you out there. Stay safe. Wear a mask. This shit is not over. It's blowing up all over again. Wear a mask. It ain't that big deal. You put a mask on, you go in the store, buy your goodies, come back out, go maskless in your car or at your house, whatever you want to do. Let's stay safe out there. Let's get into it right now. Little Greg Hips here, talking about Mystic Traces, his new solo record. I love all of you. Candles lit. Here we go. Here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. It is an old friend of mine. Old friend, introduce yourself, buddy. Back to the show.
What's up, Dean Del Rey? This is Greg Loiacono in the house.
From the Motherhips.
From the Motherhips. Yeah.
Are you guys at 30 years yet?
No, next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
30 years of playing
but
in the Motherhips.
I've known Tim for 31 years.
Wow.
89. I met him in 89, and Ike and Mike.
It's so nuts to think about 30 years, because I've probably known you for 25 or something?
Yeah.
That to me is just nuts. I mean, I've lived in LA now over 20 years, so easily I've known you over 25 years.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, man. Here we are, both gray.
Except I've been gray since I was like mid-30s.
Yeah, gray hips.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Remember when you were a kid, they'd say 10 years, so like, 10 years from now, you're just like, you couldn't even fathom 10 years. I remember hearing about people who go to jail for 10 years. 10 years. And like, I could do 10 years in jail right now. I don't want to do it, but I just could. Like, it goes by like it'll pass. It's not, but when you were a kid, it was like an eternity.
Oh my God. It's, yeah, like when you're waiting to turn 16 to drive. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Each year seemed like it took 5 years.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, man. It's funny. Here we are sitting down doing the Zoom podcast because of this virus. I don't want to get too much into it because it does get dark, but what are your thoughts on it, man? People are just kind of out right now, like it's over. It's really wild.
Yeah. It's I was driving around yesterday and looking. There's people everywhere. There's people all over the place up here, and just seeing it. It's I don't know. I'm keeping it pretty close to home still.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get anybody sick, really. I'm not even that worried about getting it myself. I mean, sure I am, but like I just don't want to get anybody else sick, and we just don't know enough about it. So I'm being cautious. But it is, as you see people doing more things and places are opening up, and you go, oh well, fuck it, everybody else is doing it, should I? It definitely makes you think. But I'm trying to be cautious and read what I can read and see what kind of information is out there to discern. But there's not. It's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you think? What are your thoughts? I wear a mask when I go out, and fuck you if you don't like it. I don't care.
Oh yeah. Mark Maron and I went hiking last Saturday, and I took a picture of us up on a mountain with masks on, and it's amazing. Like even people that follow me on my social media are like, "What are you doing with that mask, you idiots? The virus!" It's just like, oh, you're the scientist, you're the doctor, huh? That I'm going to listen to, Doctor Fan from Oklahoma. It's I'm just going on. People are still getting sick every day. Yeah, like I just saw Florida had a spike yesterday of 3,000. California this week 3,200. This shit's still out there, and I just think that better be safe than sorry. What's the big deal of a mask? I can't stand it. I shaved my beard off because of it so I could breathe, and I hate it. But if we could get rid of this thing quicker than with no mask, then I'm on board.
Yeah. And if you're protecting other people, that's a pretty good thing. Even if they, it comes out and the studies come out, it's like the mask didn't work, wasn't working the whole time, or, whatever they could, like, at least you're like right now, the information that doctors are passing along, the science is passing along, I'll follow it. And if it turns out the studies go in another direction, I'm not going to be mad at anybody. It's like you have to take the precaution that you got to take. And if you happen to trust the people that are giving you that information, whether it's stuff you're reading or people you personally know, I feel fine about that. I know people that are friends that have been sick and it fucked them up.
Oh,
I know people have had it and it just rolled by too. So it's not a very easy thing to make decisions around, except making safe choices around it is pretty easy. And so I'm going to keep doing that. I want to play rock, I know there's a couple venues that are starting to do outdoor things. Terrapin just did a thing. I think maybe it was last night. Graham and Stu Allen, Graham Lesh, and they had tables spread apart, and the guys were on stage. And I don't know, it was outside. Would I do that right now? Maybe, I don't know. It's hard. You want to play, you know, and then that's the other thing with us. We gig. And our gigs happen to be a lot of people around, and we're out of work, you know. So that, and you can understand why people are eager to get things open. But
the Hypnic got canceled.
What's that? The Hypnic, yeah.
I mean, that's like something that people look forward to every year. That's like a classic in your guys' touring schedule.
Yeah, and it's been rescheduled for September, and we'll see. You know, it's outdoor, it's a small thing, so we'll see where we're at by that time. I'd sure love to be down in Big Sur in the middle of September and playing music and doing the whole thing, but we'll see.
Yeah. Let's get into a little bit of some good stuff here. In the meantime, you've put out a new solo record. This is your third, right?
This is my second under my own name, second full length. There was Sensations.
Right.
Listen to My Shapes album, which is, you know, that was with Paul Hoagland and Todd Roper. But those are all my songs, and you know. And then there was an EP a long time ago, just like kind of demo stuff under my name. So this is the second full length album, Mystic Traces. Got the record right here.
Yeah, great, some great songs on here. It's funny because as I was listening to it, you know, I was talking about the nod to Roy Orbison, and then you know, I was just listening to this one song. That my favorite one on the record is Into the Light of Another Day.
Yeah.
It's really got a cool kind of Beatles flavor, but something hit me yesterday or a couple of days ago, Greg. Let me ask you this. I was listening to Sirius XM and Bread came on. And I was like, I never thought about this before, but I was like, wow, your songwriting has some serious Bread flavor. And I never even thought about that. Have you ever heard that before? It's so
I mean, not so specific, but for sure. And I listened to it, you know, I'll tell you what, the first Bread album is kind of proggy. It's way different than the stuff you think about. Baby, I'ma Want You and all that stuff, which is awesome soft rock, but they've got some pretty crazy music. And I'm trying to, David, can you look up his name right now? David.
I'm looking up the song that I heard because I sent it over to Joey DeBono, and I was like, shit, man. I know, here it is right here. Make It With You.
Oh yeah.
But it had a total kind of Greg Hips kind of flavor of oh man, maybe Greg comes from because I never put it together. You know, of course you put together the obvious stuff, the Dead or Beatles, or you know, and then you put it all together and you've got this great Greg flavor. But Bread came into the mix. I got a Bread shirt recently. I bought a collection of rock shirts and there was a Bread one in there. And I was like, look at this. It's just like the four silhouettes. It almost looks like a Kings of Leon album cover.
Totally.
Bread, you know?
Yeah.
Great band name, by the way, right?
I know, just Bread. Another Bread. Yeah. Yeah, David Gates. David Gates. Yeah. Genius.
Where were those guys from? You know, I didn't even, I have no idea.
I at one point I was kind of in there, and I can't remember where they're from, but that Paul Hoagland turned me on to the first album, and there's some songs on there that you should check out. The first album, very different than I Want to Make It With You, all that stuff. It's like I said, it's a little more proggy and really, really cool stuff. Actually, that song might be on the first album. I don't know that much about them, but it's good.
Yeah. Well,
I feel fine about being what came to mind for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've always said that I've found the Grateful Dead and now other music backwards from the Mother Hips. Become a giant Mother Hips fan early on, and then as I hear stuff over the years, especially some of the early Dead, I'm like, oh, this is yeah, okay. I'm getting the whole gist of the musical family here. Learning it backwards.
Yeah, it happened to me too, because I listened to the Dead, and I've told this story a lot just because of that Mother Hips record that came out, that song "Freed from a Prison" that was on Behind Beyond, a song that I wrote after hearing Box of Rain. I bought a cassette of American Beauty. I was down at Watts Music in Nevada. This is 10 years ago. Bought it. I was like, I've never had this album. I've heard the songs on them on live recordings, and I put it in, and it just floored me. And I wrote Freed from a Prison after that, because of that idea of like, I was free from a prison I didn't know I was in until I was out. Like, why was I not, all those years, like sort of, maybe not even anti-Dead, but like, yeah, I don't relate to that. And what I've come up with is you grew up in the same area I did for the most part. You grew up in Marin, and in the backyard, it's like you actually see Jerry driving around in his 2002 when you're a skate punk, and you're like, that hippie band, or
Yeah.
I was like in that mode. It was like your parents, whatever your parents were doing and listening to, you wanted to do something different. And so I kind of strayed from that, and then hearing it in a different context years later, just floor. I mean, I was crying, and you hear this beautiful, it's such a beautiful song, that one in particular. But so it kind of is a backward movement, and people back in the early, when the Hips were in the early days, would compare us. We weren't listening to the Grateful Dead, but they would compare us to them, and we didn't understand how. We didn't think we weren't trying to sound like them, or we didn't think we sounded like them. But listening and sort of getting it, working backwards, you see it and you hear it.
Do you think that if you weren't listening to the Dead, but you were doing a lot of drugs, that the drug influences kind of bring out unorthodox songwriting, not your standard kind of 3-chord, blues rock, that's that 70s stuff,
Yeah, I think there's that, but I think also the influences. We were listening to a lot of Merle Haggard, and they were listening to a lot of Merle Haggard and old country music, and they were experimental and taking drugs, and as were we, and we were listening to music that was pretty freaked out then too. We were listening to Can and Buffalo Springfield, and Buffalo Springfield, they're a pretty popular band, obviously, but those tracks in there, so there's a lot of weird tracks on that, nowadays, Clancy and Broken Arrow, and there's some pretty weird stuff on there. So we were influenced by a lot of the same stuff, or stuff that was coming out around that time. So
that's pretty cool, right? To think about, you're not listening to the Dead, but you're listening to what the Dead was listening to. And it kind of mixed up this recipe of kind of a similar flavor and vibe of what you guys wrote. Isn't that a trip?
It is a trip. And then coming from the same area, Northern California, even though we were in Chico, but I came from Marin, and I saw the Dead when I was in a freshman. A friend of mine's dad took us to a show at in 1986 at the Cal Expo.
Oh, the old fairgrounds spot.
Yeah, the fairgrounds, and I got right up there and was watching them, and I just couldn't understand why everybody was liking it so much. They were messing up words, and it was slow, and I was into more fast, rock and roll at that time. But I had a good time. I like going to concerts, so that was fun.
Yeah. Is it your first concert? Was it Van Halen or Def Leppard?
No, it was Day on the Green.
Oh yeah, Day on the Green.
Not with Blue Oyster Cult and Sammy Hagar and Triumph.
Oh, I went to that 4th of July weekend. It was called Cruising on the Green.
Cruising on the Green.
Yeah, I got the shirt. Yeah.
And Blue Oyster Cult came out on Harleys. Remember that?
Yeah. Isn't it funny how great Blue Oyster Cult is?
Yeah.
I mean, when you listen to that live record, are you ready to roll? I'm ready to go. You know that it's just so powerful. And they got those SGs that had the mirrors on the back, and they would shoot the lasers off them, and Godzilla, and they were
the Godzilla.
Playing.
I was 9, you know, and I had one of those hats, those red hats with the wings on them.
Oh yeah,
remember those?
Yeah.
My dad had that hat. I was wearing that hat, and Godzilla comes up from behind the drums, and we're in the nosebleed seats. We're way up there, but you could still see it. Fire shooting from his mouth.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I couldn't believe that was it. I was like, this is what I need to do now. And I did see Van Halen later that in 80 at the Cow Palace in October.
Wow.
So fair warning. I don't know.
Oh, that's 81. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe it was 81. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was another year. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, you saw maybe 84 then.
No. I'm saying because 1980 was the Day on the Green. I feel like it was that October that I saw. Like I saw 2 concerts that year, but it might have been the next October. It might have been 81 that I saw them. Did they do 80? Yeah. Did they play 1980?
80s Women and Children, Oakland Coliseum.
Maybe it was there.
Yeah, dude. I went to that, man. I think that was one of the greatest Van Halen tours ever because they're playing stuff off Women and Children, Van Halen 2 and 1. So you're not gonna go wrong, you know.
Yeah.
When you start playing guitar, we've talked. I've had you on the show before, but you were just into AC/DC and stuff, right?
AC/DC, Jimi Hendrix, and some of the first things I learned on guitar. I took lessons at Harbor Center Guitars.
Oh, I know that place. Yeah, right there,
right over by where Terrapin is. I rented. My mom rented a SG replica for me, rent to own. And I started taking lessons. I was 10, and Richard Goldstein was my teacher. And he had this big, I don't know which one it was, a Gibson, like big body jazz one. It wasn't the 175. It was like a 2.
Like a Birdland, like the one Nugent played?
Similar, yeah. A beautiful guitar. I don't remember exactly what model it was. And I came in and said I wanted to learn Purple Haze, and he just couldn't believe, as I was tiny, and so he's like, well, we'll get there. The first thing he taught me was the bass line to Another One Bites the Dust on guitar.
Oh, yeah, what a tune.
Yeah, I didn't even get to learn the great rhythm part, but I learned the bass line. He's like, this is a good thing to learn. He's like, what are you listening to? I like Another One Bites the Dust. He's like, let's do that. That's one string. You can do that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of Smoke on the Water, but your era, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. And next thing you know, you're playing a song.
Well, speaking of which, one of the other first songs I learned was Cat Scratch Fever. A position, on that SG. And fourth grade, and there was a music presentation, like variety show at my school, and kids were playing, a little cello and some piano, Pachelbel Canon on piano, or Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I got up there and played Cat Scratch Fever. I still have the flyer, the brochure, the program. Greg Loiacono, Cat Scratch Fever by Ted Nugent, and then I wrote an original song that I played. It was just 3 chords. It was called Mellow Fellow by Greg Loiacono. I just saw it. My mom dug it up somewhere. She's like, here.
Oh my God. How did Mellow Fellow go? Do you know?
It was just G, D, and C, strumming it out, mellow.
But it was did you sing?
No, I just played made a chord progression and just played it and called it Mellow Fellow.
That's you were like the hippie was coming out of you then.
I know.
Mellow Fellow.
Mellow Fellow. I didn't think I was a hippie either. Yeah.
Let's talk about your solo record, the new one. You went to record it in Ojai, right?
Yeah, down in Ojai. Started at the beginning, kind of towards the beginning of 2018, I think. The first session.
So multiple different sessions.
Yeah, I think we did 3 sessions, and then I did some overdub here at my house as well, some guitar and vocal stuff. But 3 sessions down in Ojai.
And how does that work? Do you just keep writing songs all the time that don't make it into the Motherhips kind of world? Or do you specifically think, all right, I'm going to sit down and write a solo record? And, do you hold anything back? Like, oh, this is way better. I want this for my solo record. How does that work?
It's a little bit of both, really. Sometimes I'll like send a tune to Hoth and Tim. And if it just goes silent, I don't get any response, then I know it's going to be probably a solo tune. That's one way.
Oh.
There's certain things that I know that'll be that I want from my solo record, because I'll have a real clear vision of how I want it to go, and maybe know that what those guys might contribute would be very specific. When I kind of get a sense of when I bring a song, when I know what those guys will contribute, and it's awesome stuff, but sometimes I have a different vision in my head. And then it's just timing too. If I have some new songs now and I'm going to record them, and I can't, I'll probably just record them here. And if they come out good enough to release, I might release them as singles. And if we weren't sheltering and weren't as restricted right now, maybe the Hips would be going in the studios and recording it. So it kind of it varies,
Yeah. Now, what label did this come out on? The label that the Hips are signed to?
Yeah. So I've been a solo artist on that label this whole time as well, and so I've been releasing singles from the record. Starting last year, San Felipe came out, and Chamberlain's Trunk, and Animal Cry. There was like 4 singles that came out. The record label's called Blue Rose Music.
And where are they out of? I can't remember.
The office is out of Nashville. The owner lives
Right.
up in Glen Ellen, but the office is out of Nashville.
And how many bands do they have? They got a bunch of bands, or is it small?
No, they had some. They sort of scaled back. It's basically the Hips, Tim and I, and Steve Forbert. And I think the Coffis brothers. There might be some others, but they've scaled back quite a bit.
Wow. And those guys, I mean, that's been pretty good for you to be able to release some cool some cool music. And, and have that kind of support, 30 years into the game here coming up on, because, I mean, or else it's just you guys putting it out yourself, right?
It's huge. It's huge to have that support.
You recorded the record out in Ojai, and you said you started in 2018. How many sessions was the record?
3.
3.
The first one, yeah. First one was sort of towards the beginning, 2018. Next one was towards the beginning, end of 2018. And then we finished stuff up in the fall of 2019. Just the sort of end of last year. In the meantime, I was doing recording from my home studio, vocals, some guitar parts, and some other instruments. It took a little while.
Yeah, but you got it done. It's funny because in between that, you're playing in the Motherhips. You're playing with Chris Robinson and the what is it? The green bud rustlers.
Greenleaf Rustlers. Yeah, I was playing a lot. And 2019 was one of the busiest years I've had in a long time. You know, I did a lot of shows that year between the Hips solo shows and Greenleaf Rustler shows. And the year before was busy too, because I went out with the Chris Robinson Brotherhood for a couple weeks. The Hips played a lot. The Rustlers were playing then too. So the last 2 years, and then to go into just, I think the Hips did 4 shows at the beginning of this year. And I had 3 solo shows, and that's it. So we're looking at 7 shows this whole year. Yeah, I've been doing the live streams at home. You know, that's a good way to keep playing and engage and that stuff, and recording at home. I'm producing a record right now that fortunately I got was able to do all the tracking with the band. Used Jim Bogus on drums.
I heard.
Yeah.
He kept texting me, dog, this stuff sounded amazing, dog.
It does. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
It was fun. I've never been in the studio with him, and I know you've worked with him in the studio. I've never worked with him in the studio, and I don't even know if I might have like come up in your band when he was playing with you at some point and jammed or something, but I don't think I ever really played any music. But after that, we were both like, man, we gotta do this more, because we had a good time.
Yeah. He's got an excellent spirit. You know, he loves to play. And that's when you're out playing music these days, 30 years, 35 years in, you got to have the good, positive dudes, because it's already grueling, you know?
Yeah, it's true. And that was this guy, Reed Genauer, who I'm producing his record. And he played in a band called Assembly of Dust. That was his band. And Strange Folk, another band, East Coast bands. And he said, I mean, the main thing, and he's around my age, maybe a little younger. He's like, the main thing is I want nice people in the studio.
Yeah.
And so I put together a band of great players that are all, good dudes. Danny Eisenberg was in there.
Yeah.
Ringing it out. And Brian Rashap, who plays bass with the Hips.
Yeah.
And then Scott Hirsch, who recorded and mixed and engineered my record from Ojai. I had him come up to be the engineer, and he's mixing that record too. So it was a good group of people. And so it was real busy up until, and this year was looking to be really busy too.
Yeah.
Now that's not the case. So the record was finished up. We mastered it in the fall and late fall, and it went to press, and then that was delayed. That was delayed by the vinyl was for almost a month,
because the factory was closed.
Well, yeah, the place that I used was in. I used a company called A to Z, and I used those for when I released the couple Motherhips records and my last solo album, and they're great, they're solid, but they use a place in the Czech Republic for vinyl, and so it had to go by ocean.
Whoa.
Yeah, because it was it came over in a boat, the record. And it was absurdly expensive if it was going to be DHL. It was like 300% markup or something.
Wow.
And the label understandably didn't, right? We'll just have it be late,
Yeah.
So it took, it was, and this was cool compared to the last record, Songs from a Golden Dream, which was kind of some of the songs were new, but a lot of them had been around. Like I'd been playing them in Sensations, and they'd been floating around for a long time. But these songs were all sort of written in the time frame of making the album. So I got the deal at the middle of 2017, started writing, started recording it at the end, beginning of 2018, even wrote some songs in between. That's why we came in and got back into the session, because there were a couple other songs I wanted to track. And so this project, even though it took about 2 years, is more condensed vision wise than the last record.
And Neal plays on this record. Was this the last record he played on?
Neal Casal probably wasn't the last record he played on, because he's played on so many records. No, it definitely wasn't, because he came up from Ventura during the first session. So, I think they did a CRB record, and he probably played on who knows how many other people's records. He was constantly getting asked to play on people's records. But yeah, he plays on the opening track. He's playing slide on Shoot the Messenger, killer tone. And he plays guitar on Chamberlain's Trunk, and he does some vocals on a couple other songs, sings harmony on Chamberlain's Trunk. And he's on Seeing You Good, he's doing the ah parts with me.
How did that come about? Did you just know him over the years, or from CRB, or how did that happen that he played on the solo record?
I've known him from before. He played at the Hypnic years ago, like at Hypnic 2. And I think I maybe knew about him or maybe met him. A good mutual friend of ours, Michelle August, is good friends with him, and she had been trying to get Tim and I to connect with him for years, even before that Hypnic show. And I think maybe Tim and him did a show together in San Francisco, early 2000s, and then maybe during the time where we were on hiatus, like 2003, 2004. And I think first time I met him might have been at the Hypnic. And then actually when Hoagland, when we were looking for a new bass player, I called Neal and asked him if he wanted to play bass and sing in the band. And he said that he was like, man, the two things he said is like, I'm not a good enough bass player to play in your band, which is not true, because I've heard tracks that he's played bass on. So he was being humble, or it was an excuse that he didn't want to play in the band. But he said, but the main reason is that I just got asked to play in a band with Chris Robinson. And so he got that gig, playing guitar and singing and writing and everything. So yeah. And then over the years, we run into each other and played some down at Terrapin in the early days. I think we were on a couple nights together, and I saw him somewhere and told him I was recording an album, and he said, I love Ojai and I'm really close, if you want me to play on any tracks. And so I told him I was down there, said, hey, I don't know if you're around, but if you want to come up. And he drove up, killed it, came in and just knocked it out, did exactly what the parts called for, and left for Europe the next day with CRB.
Wow. Do you remember what guitar and amp he was using, or did he just use your gear?
He brought a Telly. I think it was a Tobacco Burst custom.
Oh, wow. With the binding.
Yeah. 68 maybe. And he used my Fat Jimmy Deluxe 20 combo. It's like a deluxe. It's the same sort of. And I had, it was in the room because I had been tracking guitar, and I said, do you have an amp? He's like, no, what do you have here? And so he goes in there, and my pedal board was out, and he puts the Phase 100 on. And I don't even know if he had a boost pedal on, but we're listening to his tone, and it just sounds like, this from the low Will George school, just great vibrato, and the tone was just sick, and the phaser wasn't on super strong. It's not like, but it's just adding to the flavor of it rather than making it sound trippy or anything. And Scott, we're in the control room listening, and man, and Scott's like, I'm gonna go in there and put another mic back so I can get some room sound. And he said when he walked in there and I heard the door open, he said he never heard an amp at that volume being recorded. He opened the door and shut it, and I heard how loud it was. But when he was in there and asking Neal to play, he said it was brutally loud. And Scott definitely comes from the school of like, get little amps, you get the Princeton and you get and mic those up and turn them up, but they're small. And that 20, even though it's a 20-watt amp, that thing it's louder than my Super.
What?
Oh yeah, it's so loud. I don't know. It's and then the Super's twice, twice the size. But yeah, he was cranking it. Go back and listen to that track. I don't know if you saw it, but Scott and I and another friend of ours who played on the record, he was we did a deep dive into side A and side B, a Zoom thing that was live streamed on Facebook. So if you go to my Facebook page or to my music Facebook page or to Echo Magic is where their studio is. You can watch if you're interested in geeking out on how we made the record. You can go and look at those. And we also brought up isolated tracks. So Scott had brought up some isolated Neal slide stuff, and it's so good. You can hear that it's just pushing air, lots of air.
What a bummer that guy's gone,
Oh, man. Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. Yeah. You've been playing with Chris Robinson for a while now, which is pretty cool. I mean, up until they announced the Black Crowes getting back together. Of course, that's postponed. But while you were out there doing the Rustlers, did you have any inkling at all that there was some brewings of the Black Crowes getting back together?
I guess towards the end of last year, before, when did they announce it? They announced it in November or something.
Yeah, I can't even remember. I went to the Troubadour gig, but sometime, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe even before that. There was a little, there was some birds flying around, sending messages, but nothing major. It was like, sounds like there might be something happening, but it wasn't. It came on pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's not like Chris was, oh yeah, we're going to do this. And when the 30 year or, there was no talk of it at all. So it kind of came out of the blue.
That's wild. Right. Yeah. It was great to see you play with Chris because, what a Black Crowes fan I am, but it's funny. Yeah. You're a lot like me. You guys are doing these amazing covers and it's fantastic, but you're dying to hey, what if we throw in sometimes Salvation or Good Luck, any kind to really hear that Robinson voice. I remember you said you played one night where you guys did a song and you were just like, wow, like a Black Crowes song.
Yeah, that was actually the first time I'd played with Chris. It wasn't in the Rustlers. It was Chris had done something at Terrapin, and this was summer 2017. He did a few nights at Chris Robinson's Hootenanny Heroes, and he hosted in the Great Room. He was, he put together 3 different bands for 3 different nights. And one of the bands I was in, or the band that I was in, was Dave Schools on bass from Widespread Panic, Jay Lane. You know Jay, right?
Oh yeah.
Primus, and he's been,
Yep.
And then Adam McDougall, the keyboard player for
CRB
and
Black
Crowes. And then Chris, and then he'd picked a bunch of great, cool songs to play. And then on the list was Seeing Things for the first time.
Yeah.
And so that was really fun to play. And there's that little guitar riff. There's two parts at the beginning, and I was doing the main figure, and Chris was playing guitar, and there's this little slide thing on the high strings, and I couldn't do both at the same time. I'm like, Chris, you should do this. And he's like, I can't do that. Like, yeah, you can. So I showed it to him, and he did. That's the thing, It's like I've heard people, well, why is he playing guitar or something? But he's a good guitar player. He's got good rhythm. He's got a good sense of the instrument, and I've watched him play a lot in the Rustlers and the CRB, but mainly in the Rustlers over the years, and he's gotten better. Barry Sless, who's the steel player and also plays guitar in that band. You remember Barry? We drove
he's great.
To the desert with him.
Yeah,
he's so good. But apparently he's been, Chris moved to West Marin, and Barry lives in Fairfax, so they've been hanging out for quite a few years, and Chris will bring the guitar over and Barry's been showing him stuff. But that's fine. Someone can show you, even someone like Barry, they can show you how to play and what to do, but you got to be able to do it. So Barry could show somebody else and they wouldn't get it. But Chris is such a good musician. It's so built into him that he can get groovy on a guitar pretty easily. That was fun, showing him that little part and having him do it and look over and I'm like, yeah, man, you did it.
Yeah.
And then he just did that part. He didn't really play guitar on the rest of the song. So he was, that's nice to when he's not paying attention to the guitar and just singing, then it's like, that feels more like Black Crowes.
Well, I mean, I can relate to him wanting to play guitar, and you can relate in a way where you put out soul records. There is this whole thing of where you're known as something of something. Oh, I'm the front man from this band. And after a while, you kind of want to branch out and have your own identity. So it's great to be part of something, but you also want to be something that people go like, oh yeah, he also writes tunes and plays and sing, because I think people in their minds, if they see a singer, they just think that the band guy wrote the tunes or whatever. It's pretty strange, unless you're Springsteen or you're the main guy, but if you're a front man, most people's eyes, they don't understand that you might be behind the scenes writing all the stuff too. You just choose not to play guitar. After all these years, what is the relationship between you and Tim? Is it just stronger than ever? I mean, you guys have been through wars together, man. Bad record deals, multiple band members, thousands of gigs, recording sessions, everything.
It's super strong right now. We've been during this. The shelter in place, and we've been talking a lot, probably more. We've talked more on the phone in the last 3 months than we have in our whole life.
Wow.
Yeah. And, just working it out, talking, supporting each other, talking about our live streams. He did one first and he sort of motivated. I was feeling too depressed to do one. The first, I was like, I can't motivate to do this. And he did one. He's like, you should do it. It felt good and people liked it. And it feels like it's the same energy that a show brings. You feel good about playing. People are enjoying the music. They're putting it up on their big TV in the house and drinking a beer with it, having dinner with it, doing their thing. And those are the people that go and see live music all the time anyway. So you're filling something for them. So he kind of motivated me to do that. And that's been great. I've gotten the kids involved. They both become really good musicians and they're singing harmony, and Style Hips is playing piano on some tracks.
That's great. He just graduated, right?
He just graduated. They both did. He just graduated from high school and Ella just graduated from 8th grade.
Did they see my video I sent them?
Oh yeah, I put it on. They loved it. Yeah, I made a whole strip of all the videos I got and I put you in there. And they were surprised. They were like, what? You got Del Rey?
I love those guys.
So we're in contact and we're starting to write music, Motherhips stuff. Hopefully we'll be getting in the studio sometime this year to start recording new hip stuff.
Wow.
I think we will. I feel pretty good about it, unless things get super sheltery or stay,
right,
get worse, but the plan is, and come the fall, we'll get in there and start recording.
That last live record you guys put out was fantastic at the Great American Music Hall.
Yeah, that came out really, really good.
I love that. And there's a video with it also, right?
There's several videos of tracks from that night, but there's not a full video of this full show. There might be one day, but
Yeah, I watched the video tracks, man. Those great American music hall shows. That kind of stuff is funny because while you're in house lockdown, I think you really start to really go back and appreciate stuff that might have just been sensory overload from going to 100 shows a year or something. You put on like that Mother Hips live record and you go, oh yeah. And it made me think about like all of the years of going to that tradition of the couple nights around the holidays. And then it got me thinking of the Halloween shows and all that
Sweetwater.
Yes, Sweetwater, So that stuff, I think I think there's some good to the virus, meaning that it makes you kind of rethink your life of what's important,
One of the things that's kind of naturally happened over the years, and Tim and I acknowledge it a lot, is that these specific events, music events, start becoming tradition. Really, it can come to tradition pretty quickly in our world. If something works, we like to do it. Like the music hall, we've been doing it for 25 years. I don't know. I think it was 93, 94 was the first one, something like that.
Wow.
It's been so long. And then there's Hypnics on Hypnic 12. And there's certain shows that we play at certain times of the year in certain places, and it becomes it's a cool way to do it. There's these anchor things throughout the year that the whole community comes together, and people will fly from all over the country. It's not thousands of people, but it's a solid core group of 400, 500 people that are coming together that really, and a lot of them know each other from these shows. And for us, it's cool because you show up, you know what to expect, and you can build it around that instead of, showing up at places. Oh yeah, we got this festival we're doing and it's out in da-da-da, and you go out there, you're like, what is this, man?
Yeah.
And 3 months later, you're still like, are you going to send that check?
Yeah.
So creating these things we want to create we're sort of working towards it. Hypnic, like East Coast Hypnic.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Instead of spending, we go out to the East Coast and we have to fly out there, then rent a vehicle and drive around, and it's a lot, and we end up, if we break even, that's a good thing, So we were thinking, what if we have a little festival out there where people can come to us, they know when it's going to be, and set up another tradition out there like that. And so that would be ideal. And we'd still come and do certain shows, but like everybody would know, like, all right, this time of year in September or something, or late August, we're going to be at this place out in, upstate New York or wherever it is. So, these things, the type of tradition works out nicely for everybody.
Well, those are great because okay, well, at least in the year, we've got 5 solid lockdown events that are going to sell out and be the bread and butter of the rest of the year. That is a win, lose, or draw,
Yeah. Right. And then they're special too.
Yeah.
They're specialized. They're in cool locations. They're destination shows so that people want to come, and they might spend a week out in that area and go to the 2 or 3 nights of shows and then go and hang out and drive around. Big Sur obviously being one of those, or San Francisco. We tried to get something going down at Pappy and Harriet's, the Desert Dust Up.
Oh yeah.
We did that a few times, and it was a little hard to maintain, but that was pretty fun. Had something going up in the Tahoe area for a while that was looking like we might be able to do that annually, but that fell through too.
Bummer, man. Those are 2 incredible areas. Some of my favorite times was playing in Tahoe with the Mother Hips, man. It seriously feels 100 years ago, but just those
staying in that same hotel up there. We'd play someplace, I forgot what it's called, but and we'd drive the van up there. It'd be wintertime,
Yeah, it was. At first, it was called Humpty's.
Yeah, and then Evolutions or
Elevation.
Yeah. Wow. Remember that?
Oh yeah, we played there many, many times.
Jesus. And we'd just be up there like in no man's, like Tahoe, just playing rock.
Oh yeah. People getting ripped out there.
Yeah.
Skiing all day and just getting tanked for the rock show. I saw the in the movies when the chick breaks a bottle over her man's head. I saw that there for real. And I've seen people try to do that before actually, and it just dunk and it doesn't break. But this this bottle broke. This was like I don't know if maybe it was a movie prop or something, but the stage, everybody in the band's shoulders go up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I wanted you to tell a story because I was talking to somebody about it. The time you guys, you opened for Danko, right? Or what was
that? Was at the
Full Moon Saloon or
Last Day Saloon?
Last Day Saloon.
That was 1997, and Tim and I did a acoustic set.
Yeah.
Opening for Danko.
Yeah.
we didn't get to talk to him too much, but he wasn't doing great,
No.
He sounded great when he sang. That was a cool show. That was early. Yeah, that was 97. And that was early on Clean Hips.
Yeah.
Coming out of the fog right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming out of the fog and playing that acoustic show. And that was incredible. We played with the band, actually. The Hips played with the band like a year or two before in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, at some outdoor festival. We waited around the whole time. Their bus was right there, and they got us a hotel at the place. It was like a plaza, and there's a hotel there, and we were in the hotel sort of scouting around to see if we could see any of them. Wow. And we played our show, and we're looking around. We're like, I guess they didn't watch it. We're just, you don't know, back then we were young. We're just like, wait. And their bus is right there. And we didn't know anything about tour buses then either. And sure enough, when it's time for them to go on, they're kind of clearing the stage around there, and they all pile out of the bus. They were in the bus the whole time, and we'd been there for 5-6 hours. And to us, it was like, now I know that, I know what that's like. You stay in the bus, you're asleep, you're doing whatever. But back then, it was like they've been in the bus the whole time. Oh my God! And they came out, and they've got guys helping them out and stuff. And this was 20 years ago, more.
Yeah. Wow. And they were rocked back then.
Yeah. Levon had the big old wraparound shades,
Yeah.
Garth, Rick Danko.
What a group.
Yeah.
Who was on guitar in that era? I can't remember.
I don't remember his name, but
yeah.
I should, I can't remember, but amazing.
What's a typical day for you like now, man? Just out there in Marin, like no work, and we've been home 3 months. What do you do? Do you just get up and eat and play a little guitar and nothing? It's nuts, right?
Yeah, it depends. Like we were working in the garden a lot. I built some planters, and we regrew some vegetables. We're growing some vegetables, and they're starting to take right now. We got some chard and some tomatoes, and so did some gardening. We were deep into that for a while. Weed whacked the whole side of the hill, once everything dried up.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before, I've been recording a lot, been working on that my friend Reed's album that I'm producing. So I've been doing a lot of, and I've been playing on it. So I've been doing overdubs here, vocals and guitar. and then doing the live streams. Been trying to do those once a week. So that, that keeps me busy. I'll make a post and people send in some requests, and then try to get the kids involved, see what songs they can join me on. And then I do, I do individual counseling, addiction counseling. So I've been doing Zoom calls with people. And so that's good. Cause before the lockdown, I was working at a couple treatment centers, going in as a contractor, and that's right. Contractors are the first to get cut, and I think I had one or two clients before that. And so I've been kind of hustling, trying to get some more of that. And Carolina sold the shop.
Yeah. She owned a shop there in Fairfax.
In Mill Valley.
Mill Valley, like a
women's
clothing store.
Women's clothing, yeah. And so, we've both been like, she had been planning on taking time off from working because she's been hustling hard with that shop for years. And but the last 3 months I've been trying to hustle, find ways to make money, and but also spending a lot of time with the kids, and which has been great. And the four of us eating meals together more. When Noah got a car 2 years ago, that's it. We never saw him again. He went to school, and then he'd stay out with some friends for a while, and he'd come into his room, do homework, go to school in the morning. We'd rarely see him once he got the car. Weekends, he'd be taken off. And he's been here, we've spent more time with him in the last 3 months than we have in the last 2 years. And he and Ella and Carolina have been drawing a lot, doing a lot of art. I have Carolina just did some artwork for, I have a new single coming out on next Friday.
Oh yeah. What's the date?
Friday, June 19th.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a cover song, Murray McLaughlin song called Child Song. Yeah.
So that's for Father's Day, right?
Yeah. And it's like I said, it's a cover song that Murray McLaughlin wrote it. I heard the Tom Rush version of it. The label owner, Joe, sent it to me. He said, I think you do a good version of the song. It was when Noah was applying for colleges. And he said, and I dare you to listen to the song without just bawling your eyes out, because it's just like, because it was so relevant to what I was doing at the time and what we're doing right now. I'd never heard the song. I was like, cool. And played it for Tim. He's like, you should come over and we'll just record it. We just recorded it for fun, and sent it over to Joe, and they're like, oh, that was cool. I wasn't planning on doing anything with it. And then he called me like 2 weeks ago, maybe not even. He's like, we should put it out for Father's Day. It's not even mastered, or there's no art. He's like, we'll get it together. I'm like, all right. So Carolina did the art. She did the design for songs from a Golden Dream for my last record. And then she did the artwork for San Felipe single, and the artwork for Chamberlain's Trunk. So she's been cranking stuff out here. She's been drawing a lot. Noah's been drawing a lot, painting. So there's been a lot of art and music happening in the house. I set up Noah with a little recording rig for his room. So he's been recording, playing piano, playing bass, singing. Ella, mini hips, plays a lot of guitar. She's like me, when I was a kid, watching TV, and then the guitar is just under her hands. She's just playing all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is she planning on like playing music like for a
She'll
living?
Probably do something. No, not for a living. But I hope not.
That's hilarious.
But she'll probably play. She loves it. She's got it deep in. They both do. They've got so she'll be playing in some form in high school, and but I'm not sure how that's gonna look.
Good talking to you, dude.
Yeah, man.
Let's tell everybody where they can get the record and to get it on your website or iTunes and all that.
Mystic Traces, my new record, can be found at my website, gregloiacono.com. Last name is spelled Loiacono. GregLoiacono.com. You can get vinyl. You can get it on CD. The vinyl is colored. It's orange. The record itself. And there's a download code in that. You can get it up on iTunes and Amazon. You can buy it there. It's also streaming on Spotify. So if you use Spotify or any of the streaming services, Apple Music, you can find it there. And if you do, and you listen to it there, follow my spot, my page or my Spotify thing. And if you like it, listen to it there, but then go buy it.
Yeah.
That would be great. You can go listen to it there, see if you make sure you like it, but buy it. And the vinyl, if you're going to buy the vinyl, get it soon because we made a limited pressing. And if we sell out, hopefully the label will press some more. But it's fortunate that there's not shows because it would have been gone by now. It moved quicker than I thought.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've got some hats and merch and stuff. So if you want to support me that way, help me on with the next record project, go ahead and buy some Greg Hips merch.
And then where do they watch the streams each week? Where can they buy a ticket on Zoom or what is that?
No, it's live on Facebook. It's free ultimately, but we put up our PayPal and yeah. So if you feel like donating, and sometimes people do, I'm going to do it anyway, and it helps. But it's so on my Facebook page, that's where I host it, and then I usually repost it or share it once it's done. You can watch it afterwards. So I'll share it on my Greg Loiacono music page, and I usually share it on the Motherhips page too. So if you go to any of those pages and scroll around, you can, like the one I did one last night. There's one up right now if you want to check it out. I played a bunch of songs from Mystic Traces, but I've done 6 or 7 so far, and then the other ones I did the studio deep dive stuff too. So those are all up on Facebook, and that's the best place to do that kind of thing, live stream.
Right.
For me right now. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'll get to see you someday this year in 2021.
I know.
I miss you, Tim.
Hopefully before 2021. Maybe there'll be some 2020 action.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I do.
I know. I do too.
Wear a mask, man. And
yeah.
Have a good Sunday, buddy. Go out there and turn on some Carole King Tapestry.
Mellow Sunday vibes.
Yeah. You're starting to look like Judd Apatow. I love it. You're like a combo of Garcia and Judd. You're Jerry Apatow.
Man. Yeah, man.
All right, buddy.
Yeah. I'll keep you posted on what's going down.
Candles lit, brother.
Killer, man. Thanks, Dean.
I'll see ya.
All right. Later.